Most of the commercially available drones today can probably fly between 8 and 20 minutes on average. And what I wanted to do was basically reset that record to say these things are capable of doing much, much more. So I came up with this concept of doing something spectacular, doing something that really grabbed people's attention. Now, at the time, the technology wasn't available, or it was just coming online. So I went through a build process, a design process in August through into September. One of the challenges with doing this type of record is it's never been done before. You can't go onto an internet forum and ask somebody how they tackled this problem. Nobody has ever flown a multi-rotor drone this far in a straight line. I didn't know if it was going to fly into the sea. I didn't know the speeds they were capable of doing and sustaining. And through that research and development process, I had a few accidents. We had 2 crashes, and that was a result of the fact that we had to use really efficient big motors and props. They didn't really handle the wind that well. The wind envelope I thought I had to play with was dramatically reduced, and thankfully today we were within that wind envelope. I intended to do this attempt at the end of September, and historically the end of September is the calmest period in weather terms for cross-channel attempts. But because we've done this properly, we had to get all the proper permissions in place from the CAA and the French DGAC, which are the national aviation authorities. It took much, much longer than we anticipated to get all of those permissions. We finally received permission from the French to do this just before Christmas. I then went into the final planning phase. So that was the fine detail logistics. It was quite a challenge to get everybody here at the right time, prepared with the right kit to go and make the attempt. So last week I intended to fly from the UK to France, but the tides were not in our favour, so we had to change the plan at the last minute to fly back from France to the UK, and of course we've got a huge wind issue at this point. Thankfully, we had a weather window on Tuesday morning that enabled us to do the attempt. The wind was absolutely perfect, the weather was right. So Tuesday started out for me at 5 o'clock in the morning. We met our skipper of the RIB that we went across to France in. We had a huge challenge of keeping the drone dry on the way across.
We're just approaching the French beach now. It's high tide. The sky's clear, the temperature's about 6 degrees, and the wind is in our favour.
I then had to wade out from the boat up to my chest in water to go to drag the drone out and put it on a French beach. I then had to recover to go get the batteries and the controller. I've never operated the drone in these types of conditions before because it's really hard to do any rehearsals, and we had connection problems with getting the drone linked up to the computer to upload the flight plan. So I eventually had to launch the drone manually, let it hover in the sky while I recovered to the boat before we managed to get the waypoints loaded onto the computer and get the drone on its way. Now, the next challenge was we were flying across the channel perfectly fine. I didn't know if it was going to maintain its height or whether, due to the curvature of the Earth, it was going to get lower and lower and lower as we went across the channel. But thankfully, at 17 kilometres halfway across, the drone was maintaining its height and good speed and doing really well. Battery performance was doing really well, even though the weather was reasonably cold. And at about 20 kilometres, there was an error with the GPS. And we didn't know why that was. And so panic stations kick in. And of course, we've practiced this, I've rehearsed this, I know exactly what to do when a situation like this takes place. So it was a case of switching to manual flight, disable the GPS, disable the computer, and then for the final 14 kilometres going into Dover, it was manual flying. It's quite hard work keeping control of these things and understanding what's going on around you and maintaining that situational awareness. Then you couple that with the fact that your platform that you're sat on is also moving. It's also bobbing up and down on the sea, which is affecting your control inputs. And I've got to maintain the orientation of the drone. That's now not GPS enabled, and we've got to point it for an English beach while watching out for other traffic across the channel, the busiest waterway in the world. So yes, when I say it was the most challenging 20 minutes of my flying career, it absolutely was.